And I think I heard you say before that Tom communicated many times after he crossed over. The first one was very, very soon after he died. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, just 17 hours after, because as soon as Tom had passed, I contacted. I rang Rob in Spain because Rob had been sending healing and knew the passing, and we were very close with Robert, and so I rang him and said, this has happened, and he said, and he said, he'll be back. He'll be back. It may not be tomorrow, but he'll be back. Well, because that was his Saturday evening that he passed. On the Sunday morning, when they had the service in Spain, he came. He was back through a medium. Now, why Robert said he wouldn't be back probably on the Sunday was because it was a medium that Tom didn't particularly care for. He thought she was very psychic, and she wasn't very. She was a bit abrupt at times as well when she gave messages, and he wasn't very close. But yes, he did. He didn't actually speak, but his presence was known, and Pat was able to describe him and describe the man's bearing, his likes, his dislikes, his how he would good at speaking, a very spiritual man. And then just as she was leaving, she said, and just as I'm going, Agnes has popped in. Tom's aunt and Ag always used a phrase saying, I've just popped in to let you know. And that was her catchphrase, I've just popped in. And when Pat said that, that absolutely sealed everything else that had been said. So that was the first time. And then a week later, he actually came through at Stuart Alexander's seminar, the weekend seminar. He came through and gave tremendous evidence to Gilly Wolfson. And she, not only that, but she saw him clairvoyantly, but she didn't see him as an elderly man. She saw him as quite a young man. And this is what threw her. She didn't realize who it was, but she had all this information. And then the following morning, I actually had to do Tom's talk. Just 1 week after he'd passed, I had to do the talk that he was supposed to be doing about his mother's mediumship. And when I put the slides on the screen, she recognized the man she had seen, because the photograph that was shown of him in the circle when he was age 30 was as she had seen him clairvoyantly the day before. So, I mean, there was absolutely no doubt that was it. And all the evidence that she had from him was just amazing as well. But it was another 10 months before he materialized, although he came through many other people, and that led to me writing this book called Harrison Connections. Oh, can't get the right way. Harrison Connections. And he actually chose the title. He told me through a friend who lived locally. She's actually moved away now, but a friend who lived locally, that was the title that he wanted for his book. It took me 4 years to write, because he kept saying, there's more to come, there's more to come. But he did actually, in the August, after he passed in the October, in the August, he came through David Thompson at our centre in Spain, with Rob and Barbara's centre, the Acacia Centre. And David was over for a week, and he actually materialised that evening, one of the, because he did 3 sessions, but that was just the first one. And yes, and we could hear him walking, but he walked, because of his condition with Parkinson's, he was 92, but he had cut down to a shuffle. And so the shuffling feet across the floor was Tom's movement. And he actually came. and he came and spoke to him, encouraging to me, and he came to me and he held my face between his hands and he kissed my forehead. Now, Tom's hands were long and narrow and quite bony, and there was absolutely no mistaking those hands. I mean, David Thompson, you know, he's not tall. He's got quite small hands. And certainly it couldn't have been him, but that was it. And he spoke to me. His voice was full of emotion and not very strong. And everybody, when I said, oh gosh, oh, he's kissed me, and everybody heard it. And Robin Foy, who was sitting across the room next to Robert, said something, and Tom heard it, and he said, Robin, lad. And as he turned and walked away across the room, the movement was better, the voice was stronger, the voice was definitely Tom's voice. So much so that one lady who from Switzerland, who was there that week, said, when I said, well, I wasn't sure because his voice wasn't quite Tom's. She goes, oh, it was. I've watched that video 5 times. I know it was Tom. Well, what better proof you have? And then, of course, he went and spoke to Robin, who he'd known for many years, and to Robert, who addressed him as son. He always called Robert son. And yeah, so that was the first one. And then just a month later, he came through at Stewart's. And again, this time he actually took, having played with my hair, tickled my top of my head, he moved his hand down my shoulder, picked up my hand, but as he held my hand, he was overcome with emotion, and he couldn't hold the form, because for holding materialized ectoplasmic form is very, very difficult. You've got to give it all your energy until you're very expert at it. And this was only Tom's second time. And he said, oh, and with that he'd gone. But my hand, which was out in midair, having been held, was suddenly grasped by another very big hand. Walter. He said he did not like being in ectoplasm. He did much prefer just speak through Stuart. But that evening, we must have had 3 forms out in the room. Now, when Tom released the ectoplasm back, when he couldn't hold the form any longer, it went back into the cabinet. And we heard him start to build again. And June just said to him, June, who was sitting next to Stuart, said, Tom, don't try and walk, just speak. And he stood just out of the cabinet in front of Carol, who was sitting the other side of Stuart. And you could feel the energy standing there, because this is something that even though you can't see them, you can feel that energy right in front of them, right in front of you, that there's a body there that, if you're trained enough sufficiently and aware, you can sense when somebody approaches you. And this is what happens with materialization. You can feel them close to you. And he did. He then spoke to us for about 5 minutes. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evenings, wonderful memories.